This video introduces the refugee project that I started with Hala Hadi and Mara El Matawak. It was started in 1993. This refugee project that began, it started with, I guess I have to go a little bit further back actually, way back to 1992. So after college, I moved to northern Iraq with my husband, and we worked teaching English as a second language, and I started to hear people's stories about what it was like to survive a genocide attempt. I even remember that first time when I was in the taxi and we traveled overland, first by bus from Istanbul to Diyarbakir, and then by taxi. And we were in the taxi and I thought how empty all this space is, looking around. And it turned out that the reason why the space was empty is that Saddam Hussein had used chemical weapons and come in with the tanks and flattened all the villages and cut down all the trees. And my question at the time was, how can a people survive a genocide? How did they go on? What artistic forms do they use? How do they tell their stories? How do they make it? In my class then, as I started, I realized that people were telling stories, they had their Kurdish dances, that they had their songs, all these different ways in which they survived and coped and narrated their trauma. We had to leave after a year. There was one day we went to school to teach English and half my students were gone. So the building was owned by the PUK and the KDP students then didn't come the next day because of the Civil War. The following day, one of my friends came and said, there can be no more classes. The Civil War broke out because with the sanctions, the Kurds were not receiving very much of the food or the money for oil. And so there was a lot of controversy between the two groups over who could contain and get the money for the illegal oil transport that was going on. So as the Civil War escalated, my husband and I finally decided to leave after a year of living there. And when we left, it felt like a betrayal. It felt like we could leave, but they could not because they didn't have passports. They couldn't leave. And one of my family friends came up to me, Asad Gozay, and he said, whatever you do, don't forget the Kurds. So my research project and my book on performing democracy began there, where I was urged not to forget. And there's been so much violence in Iraq and in Syria. There have been civil wars, there have been wars, there's been international influence that has happened. And in response to this, then, I have started this refugee project with Hala and Mara. Would you read us a section from the rap book, please?
Yes. Now, they're digging through mass graves with their bare hands. And one guy on TV, I saw him. He found a pack of cigarettes. He said, my brother smoked this kind of cigarette, so this is my brother's body. He took the bones with him so he could bury them, what he thought was his brother. I've never seen men cry like that. I watch my dad try not to cry, because when he's watching TV and it's green nighttime footage of bombs, he can recognize the street and the neighborhoods where all his family still lives. I watch TV looking for faces of our family. All I do is cry, but my dad, he can't. So he ends up choking and making himself sick. I mean, he's lived here in the US for 40 years. He plays golf 5 times a week. He's just sad but contained because you just can't watch TV. I'm on my knees in the middle of my apartment with my mom on the phone watching, and I'm holding a rosary, watching CNN. I want to pray, but I don't have words. So I say their names out loud. Sati, Zahir, Huda, Zahra, Rabab, and over, trying to see them alive. Because we don't know anything. We can't call, we can't get through the phone still, and now people are burying their dead in their backyard, in their garden, the football field. It's every day a police station. My uncle Sati lives next to the police station. My uncle Zahir lives next to the airport.
And I'd love to hear from you, Hala. Will you tell everyone about your story, your family's story about displacement? You have an amazing story.
Many people identify Khan as a person who in concentration camp. My people in Iraq live their daily life, normally going to school for education, or work to support family, or live their daily life. My story was slightly different from the people in my city, Babylon. My husband served for 21 years in Iraqi military. He was serving someone else's war, Saddam Hussein's war. While on the run, my husband got captured at the border of Saudi Arabia by the American and put into a concentration camp. For 1 year, whole year, I don't know nothing about my husband, if he was dead or alive. And the government started following me and my children. They tried to force him to come back to the country. So I kept going from one house to the other, so they don't put me with the children in jail. Until one day, I was in my uncle's house where I got a call. It was my husband telling me in code, "Can you go to Jordan?" I said, yes, I could. From there, I saw the changes is coming in my life and the happiness. I started to process the paperwork and I have to lie to the government. Told them that my husband was dead. And the hardest part, I have to make my children believe it. Because they will ask us questions when we apply for the passport. I started a paper, we work on the passport. And the day I got the passport in my hand, I was so happy. I thought they wouldn't give it to me because I have 4 children and the dad has to be there to sign for the mom to leave the country with the children. But they believed it that he's dead, and so have my children. Anyway, that day I got the passport. I was jumping up and down on the street, and my oldest daughter looked at me and she said, "Mom, why are you so happy? Didn't you say my dad died?" I said, "No, it's not." I said, "Are you happy because my dad died?" She was young at that time. Anyway, I told her, "No, there is another reason. I got the passport, that's why I'm happy. And we're gonna go somewhere else. We're safe." So after that, I applied for a medical visa to get to Jordan. And I know there is gonna be a tough time at the border. They're gonna ask me a million questions, and I have to answer everyone the way they want it. I stayed at the border for 5 hours. Everyone was waiting for me, and the reason I'm alone with my children. Even if my cousin wasn't with me, but he's not allowed to say one word. I'm the one who have to answer every question they ask me. He cannot get near me. Anyway, so we passed all that. I answered every question they asked me, and we got to Jordan. From there, right when I entered the border of Jordan, I told my children, "I lied to you, and we're going to see your dad." It was like, they shook me. "Are you sure? Is that right?" I said, "Yes." "So why you lied?" I told them the truth, why I have to lie. Anyway, we got to Jordan where I could speak to my husband with no code. And I stayed in Jordan for 6 months. And then I got the visa to the US. I got home, I saw my husband. It was a moment. After 4 years, I didn't see him for 4 years. We got home. The first thing is like, I promised myself that I will learn the English before my children. So they won't speak English and I don't understand what they say. I accomplished that goal. I didn't speak English before this. And I helped them through the elementary. But when they went to high school, it got harder for me. They are in college now. Anyway, so it's like, and then I learned the English. I worked at the beginning as an interpreter, and then I got a job as a pharmacy assistant, and then I went back because this was difficult, like from 7 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon I leave the children. I thought, okay, I need to get back with my children. Interpreter is more flexible hours. So when I worked with as an interpreter, I worked with the refugee, helping them through medical, and then I got hired as an interpreter at Lutheran Community Service. And from there, I saw the new refugee who just came to settle and how difficult for them to settle because they don't speak their language and new culture. Everything is new for them. And what they've been through is a lot because myself, I saw the first Gulf War and then we left the country, but the one who just came, they have to go through all of them. And even the embargo and the hard time. So now, 3 months ago, where I got hired as peer support specialist at the Lutheran Community Service, where I work direct with the Iraqi refugee and immigrants just come and they need my help. And I'm so glad that I can help them, and I'm so happy to work that job.